Hey, welcome back to the eDrum Workshop. I'm Luke and I hope you're having a great day. I've just released a new set of kits, the huge and heavy collection for the ROLAND TD-17, over on my store at the eDrumworkshop.com. This is an adaptation of the powerful and punchy pack that I did for the ROLAND TD-50, so all 5 kits in this collection are along the same theme as that particular pack. These are kits that are big, punchy, modern, and they aim to sound produced. This time I've taken the approach of doing 2 different versions for each kit. The version A kits are a big room ambience variation, whereas the version B kits have a tighter, more focused studio style ambience. I'm going to go straight into the sound examples for you, showing off both versions of each kit with varying levels of ambience, and then afterwards I'm going to explain a few details about the kits for anybody who's interested. Let's get to it! The aim of this collection is to bring your module closer to that big produced modern sound. But there is also scope for it to feel much smaller and more natural with a simple turn of the ambience knob, or by just swapping to the other variation of the kit. Because the TD-17 doesn't have some of the in-depth modelling capability that some of the higher modules do, I decided to take this two-kit approach to give you the quickest way of swapping between sounds without having to dive into the settings. The main difference between each variation of the kit is the level and the size of the ambience. As I said in the intro, the version A kits are designed with that big, roomy ambience that's supposed to make your kit sound massive. My recommendations for the ambience setting are just past the halfway mark, but using the ambience knob to dial in the sounds exactly where you want is the key. Version B of each kit is a smaller room, more studio-like ambience level, which is designed to give it that lively feel but without being too overbearing or washy. Once again, you can crank the ambience to get a much more roomy sound, or you can bring it right down for a dry kit. These kits use user samples on the snare drum, and they're taken from recording sessions that I did at a couple of studios a few months ago. There's a link to each studio in the description, and the rest of the kits are modelled from entirely internal sounds. I feel that the snare benefits the most from these user samples. If you do purchase the full collection, the samples from these kits will take up about 20% of the user sample space, so make sure that you've got enough room in your module for those, and also make sure that you import them with the user samples turned on. If you don't do that, then the kits won't sound how they should. The full installation instructions are included with both the collection and the individual kits, so that whole process is described in much more detail there. Now, you might think that it's using the same samples across both variations of the kit, but there's actually a slight difference here too. I've actually added in a little bit of additional baked-in reverb to the A variation samples. And you might be thinking, why bother doing that when I'm already modelling the rooms to be quite big? But this does actually improve the overall dimension of the sound of the snare drum. But it does also mean that when you bring the ambience down on the A variations of each kit, you'll still have a bit of a fatter, more ambient snare drum than on the B variations. This does give a slight trade-off of not being quite as natural, but the A kits aren't really about being natural. That's the job of the B kits. And for those of you that do like to tweak a bit, you can always swap the A kits user samples onto the B kits if you want to add some extra dimension to the snares, but keep that tighter room sound. Or you could swap the drier B samples onto the A kits if you'd rather. Just don't forget to disable the head and rim button setting, or the H&R button, in order to change both the head and rim shot samples independently, as there is a unique sample for each. If you do accidentally change something and you can't get it back to where it was, you can always just reload the kit again. This pack has been primarily designed to be used at home with headphones. If you do want to use these kits in a gigging situation, I would recommend using the studio variations of the kits and bringing the ambience knob down quite a bit, if not completely off. It's very easy for additional ambience to become very muddy when coming through a large speaker system, especially if you're in a large room as well. This can also apply in varying degrees when using drum amplification at home or in a rehearsal room. It's a potential issue when using any kind of drum amp or small PA speaker. If you're adamant that you do want some ambience coming through the speakers, it's recommended to start with it all the way off, then bring it up to the point where it starts to sound a bit muddy and dial it back just a touch. Another detail to note is that I've exploited the lo-fi compressor multi-effect setting to make it act a little bit more like a regular compressor. This adds a bit more depth to the sound and makes sure that they punch that little bit harder, but it does slightly change the dynamics of the pads and how they react. Typically, you'll notice that the ghost notes might be a little bit louder than on other kits that you use. The overall effect is quite subtle, but if you find that you're not a big fan of it, you can go into the other button settings, choose multi-effects, and then press the right-hand button to uncheck the on box to turn the effects off. This will make it play a little bit more naturally, but at the expense of losing a little bit of the weight to the sound. There might also be a small drop in volume if you turn this effect off. And speaking of volumes, these kits were actually quite a bit louder than the stock kits when I first made them. I have turned them down a little bit, but they are still a touch louder. That is the theme of the pack after all. But if you do want to volume match these with kits that you use on a regular basis, you can open up the other settings, scroll down and select the volume setting, and then turn the kit volume down or up to taste on either these kits or on the other kits that you use on your module. The snare and tom volume has been increased on some of the kits too to more closely match the records that each kit was based on. These can be edited simply by pressing the level button after striking the appropriate pad and using the dial to adjust as necessary. Of course, you can have fun and experiment with any of the settings. These are just the things that I thought were most important to be touched on. For any other information on the inspirations behind these kits, you can either either watch my older TD-50 Powerful and Punchy Pack video, or you can check the kit notes that are included in the kit installation instructions. The prices for the full collection are currently up on the screen. The individual kits still come with both the A and B variations of each kit, and there's a link in the description to the store if you think these kits offer what you want from your module. If you have any other questions, comments or feedback, feel free to leave a comment below or get in touch through the contact form on my website. And if you liked this video or found it useful in any way at all, don't forget to pop a like on it and subscribe for more content like this. I'm going to be doing some comparisons with the other packs in the future, so hitting the bell means you won't miss any of those. Enjoy the rest of your day and thanks for watching. Cheers!